UNNATI has been working in the social development sector for last 32 years. We primarily work in Gujarat and Rajasthan. We were born as a capacity building support institution, primarily to strengthen small grassroots groups so that they work effectively. Primarily, we looked at groups who have been working on basic rights and livelihood issues. As you know, in 1992, the India kind of undergone a major economic transformation, liberalization. And what we were reading that time, how the liberalization can really marginalize the poor. So we started doing a longitudinal study involving local grassroots groups. And we thought that the research should empower the community as well as the NGOs to take up issues locally as well as the state level. That research was very well accepted all over India. And after that, many CSOs have worked in different states, particularly to find out the adverse impact of liberalization. And government has listened to people's voices. I think major adverse impacts were kind of averted. So we had a smooth transition to liberalization without what we saw in Latin American countries or African countries. Again, in 1996, as you rightly know, we had a 73rd, 74th Amendment, and we have decentralized governance. So we worked in the area of Panchayati Raj and Nagarpalika. Also, we worked on the area of decentralized planning. So we worked very closely with state governments like Gujarat state government, Rajasthan state government on capacity building. We have three pillars of Unnati. One pillar is called social inclusion and empowerment. Second one is called governance and social accountability. Third one is called disaster risk reduction. Social inclusion primarily is the inclusion of women, disabled people, Adivasis, Dalits in the mainstream development process. Governance primarily is both CSO governance as well as decentralized Panchayati Raj Nagarpalika governance improved. And third one is disaster risk reduction. We moved out from relief and rehabilitation. We thought that finally the effort should be strengthen disaster governance. In 2016 and 2018 disaster management plan, Unnati was specifically mentioned in those documents. Fortunately, I am also the current chair of VANI, and this is a very good engagement, particularly in difficult time. And everybody is finding it difficult because development projects has taken a toll because every agency is forced to respond to COVID. In one of our meetings, I asked that when India got independent, what Gandhi told you? He said that Gandhi said that everybody should not enter into politics. He said, along with the freedom fight, you were also earlier involved in constructive work like on education, on khadi. He said, continue doing that. Gandhi asked all the freedom fighters, he said, go back to remote areas and set up your institution and work there. The voluntary sector has made also many transformations. That was the time the overall approach is more welfareistic in nature. All kinds of welfare, even women's welfare, a lot of women's shelters were created. So we have not addressed the women's rights that time. Or if there is child labor, you rescue them, put them into a child shelter. Then in 60s, the community development came. Community development primarily came to improve agriculture, and mostly at the community level, inputs were provided, seeds, fertilizers. But suddenly around 70s or early 80s, we realized that women are still left out, Dalit people are still left out. So the whole idea of women-centric, Dalit-centric, tribal-centric, environmental considerations must come into our development interventions. Then we came up with the whole idea of empowerment approach. So empowerment approach basically transformed social development process. In fact, I always say that 80s and 90s, perhaps the most effective time by the NGOs. In fact, government was listening to us. How to mainstream participation, how to make gender justice, how to make vulnerable section to participate in the development process and entire this 21st century. Now we have an area for more transparency and accountability. The right to information campaign came, anti-corruption campaign came. Today we are in an era that empowerment is there, accountability is there, but more focus of strengthening governance. So our overall analysis today is, if you can make social inclusion and if there's good governance, if a program is designed for MG and RJ workers, worker must have a voice on that program. Worker must provide feedback to the program. That's the journey of 75 years. But I must tell you that 75 years, what the CSOs have contributed to. NGOs has provided many innovations. Take, for example, entire process. How do you do community organizing? How do you do empowering process? How to prepare women so that they contest election fearlessly? Even housing technology, how to make fireproof thatch roof. Voluntary sector is always concerned about discrimination, concerned about social evils, democratic processes. That means you are challenging the mainstream. Basically, when you are challenging the vested interest, the vested interest will come back to you. There is a concept called build back better. It's not that you only provide certain food and clothes and shelter which are not going to be sustainable. So providing long-term support is very important. So whether it's a man-made disaster or whether it's a natural disaster, who reaches the community first? Is the community itself. But unfortunately, the community is divided by caste and social hierarchy. So what NGOs have done, the kind of social capital we have created, which believes in social inclusion. So in fact, we do something called a social watch. It's not only our own NGO's own support, but ensuring that whoever is coming there, whether it's a corporate coming, whether it's government coming, whether it's religious institution coming, no one should practice discrimination. And that is one thing which NGOs have done. There is another thing which NGOs are doing. It's called community-based disaster preparedness. So we must need to prepare the community so they are capable of addressing their own requirements. Take, for example, in rural areas, people are building their houses. Are people doing their house insurance? So if we do a house insurance, the houses can be insured against all calamities. And then we don't have to depend on what government is supporting. You get that from the insurance company. Point is, in social accountabilities, many hurdles come because till now, voluntary sector is not well paid. In fact, when you are saying voluntary sector, the idea in the community, in the broadly at the societal level, that you must be doing something else. This is a part-time work. Take, for example, every 5 years, you have to do your renew. It's whether income tax or FCRA. In many places, even the society registration or trust registration, you do renewal. So you are subjected to different kind of regulations and interpretations. I'm not challenging that you renew and everything, but we are not designed to have such kind of people and resources to make such accountability, because the amount of paperwork we do, submission you do, that requires certain kind of a competency and human capacity. So that's another big challenge. Not only I, anybody from this sector will say that the issues are so gigantic, no single agency would be able to address it, how big it might be. Suppose one is engaged in poverty reduction or in the area of malnutrition. Perhaps you require an academic institution to come and do a study. Many a times you need to require resources. Resource you require from not only from government, but also from private institutions, individual donors. Today, all programs must be IT enabled in terms of grievance registration and grievance redressal. Perhaps some IT institutions can come and do it. And I always say that in the NGO sector, in order to make impactful development, we need to eat collaboration, drink collaboration, sleep collaboration. Collaboration is the name of the game. Then only social development will be more impactful and sustainable.